very latest from around the world and here at home this Sunday evening. It's the ITV News. Iran warns the US the Strait of Hormuz will close completely if America destroys its power plants. As the war enters its fourth week, strikes across the Middle East continue, with the threat of escalation looming. Tonight, the Prime Minister has spoken to Donald Trump about the crisis. We'll have the details. Plus, the impact of war. Ministers prepare for urgent talks to assess how the cost of living here is being affected. Hundreds rescued, thousands ordered to evacuate after Hawaii suffers the worst flooding in 20 years. And a triumphant trophy lift for City after winning the first silverware of the season.
This is ITV News with Lucy Watson.
Good evening. Iran is threatening to retaliate if Donald Trump follows through on his ultimatum to obliterate the regime's energy sites. The US president says he will strike unless the Strait of Hormuz is opened fully in the next 48 hours. In response, Iran has warned that it will respond by closing the strait completely. Overnight, more than 150 Israelis were injured in an Iranian missile attack targeting two cities. And as Trump's deadline draws nearer, the prospect of this war escalating even further increases, with some distressing pictures now. Neil Connery has this report.
In southern Israel, the damage from the latest Iranian missile strikes overnight. More than 160 people were injured in Arad and Dimona, around 8 miles from a nuclear research facility. With civilians paying the price, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu came here today. He said it was proof Iran was a danger to the entire world.
They fired a terror weapon on civilians, on children. There's a children's nursery here. There's an old person's home here. Civilians, families, they fired terror weapons on civilians.
In Iran, civilians continue to suffer as well. 2 children and their father were killed in a reported airstrike on a residential area in Tabriz. The Iranian Red Crescent said the children were called Mahan and Mahur. State TV says more than 1,500 people have been killed so far in this war. With Iran effectively blocking the Strait of Hormuz, through which around 20% of the world's oil supply passes, Donald Trump has issued an ultimatum saying if Iran doesn't fully open without threat the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours from this exact point in time, the United States of America will hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest one first. Iran says it will strike US energy facilities in the Gulf and completely block the strait if that happens.
Just to put a fine point on this, though, is the president in the process of winding down this war or escalating the conflict?
Again, they're not mutually exclusive. Sometimes you have to escalate to de-escalate.
In Lebanon, Israel's military struck a key bridge it says was being used by Hezbollah. Many Lebanese fear it could be a precursor to a possible large-scale Israeli invasion. Neil Connery, ITV News.
Well, the Prime Minister has this evening spoken to Donald Trump about the war in the Middle East. Downing Street. That said, the pair discussed the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. Well, our political correspondent Fred Dimbleby joins me now. Fred, now we've only just heard about this. What more can you tell us tonight?
Yeah, well, things haven't exactly been cosy, have they, between the President and the Prime Minister? Trump very critical of Starmer for what he sees as his inaction over the war. Tonight they have spoken, as you mentioned. They discussed the situation in the Middle East. They discussed the need to open the Strait of Hormuz to resume global shipping, and they agreed that reopening the Strait of Hormuz was essential to ensure stability in the global energy market. They also agreed to speak again. I understand that meeting took around 20 minutes. It's described as constructive. That update just coming in the last half an hour, but I think that specific reference to the global energy market shows where Keir Starmer's real concerns are in this conflict.
And this all comes ahead of talks, urgent talks tomorrow on the war's impact here.
Yeah, when we talk about the energy market, there is growing concern about the impact all of this could have on the cost of living at home, which is seen as a top priority for the government. They have already had to intervene to help people who are reliant on heating oil because they were hit by many of the first of those price shocks that we saw when gas and oil prices rose. There is pressure for them to intervene further, with warnings that energy bills could increase by more than £300 come July. There is a COBRA meeting tomorrow, an emergency committee meeting tomorrow, which the Prime Minister will chair. I think it's easy to read too much into these meetings, but the fact that he's chairing it, the fact that the Governor of the Bank of England is present, and the fact that it is focused specifically on the cost of living shows just how important the government thinks this issue is. But look, from both pieces of information tonight, clear that this is still a developing and an unpredictable situation.
Fred, thank you very much indeed. A police officer has died in Kent on an emergency call-out. Bradley Cork was critically injured after a car collided with his vehicle on Thursday. Kent Police says it is supporting the 27-year-old's devastated family. The driver of the other car was also seriously injured, and another officer is in a critical condition in hospital. Homes in Hawaii have been washed away after the worst flooding there in more than 2 decades. A series of winter storms have forced the evacuation of thousands of people. Officials are now closely monitoring a dam which they say is threatening to collapse. Emma Volney has the story.
A family home destroyed in seconds. Rushing water, ripping up floorboards and turning roads into rivers. More than 200 people have been rescued. Around 5,500 have been evacuated. This is the worst flooding Hawaii has seen in more than 20 years. One of the largest dams on the island of Oahu is at risk of failure. And there's major damage to homes, schools, airports and a hospital.
This is going to have a very serious consequence for us as a state, though we have support. We are now beginning to contemplate the reality that this storm could cost over $1 billion of damage.
In the chaos, residents are looking out for each other.
We're gonna go get her cats.
Oh.
Everyone's worked together. The National Guard has been out there. Our military, active military duty has been there for us. And citizens everywhere have been taking care of each other. That's what you do in Hawaii. That is what we are as an ohana. That's why people have not died.
But relentless rain has left cars underwater, buildings without power, and many wondering when they'll return home and what they'll be returning to. Emma Volney, ITV News.
The Premier League has promised a full investigation into an alleged incident of racist abuse from the Newcastle crowd directed at Sunderland player Lutz Harald Gertrude. Referee Anthony Taylor had to pause the match for 3 minutes to speak to coaching staff from both sides. It happened early in the second half of Sunderland's 2-1 win at St James's Park. Today's Carabao Cup final saw the top 2 teams in the Premier League face off at Wembley, and it was Manchester City that came out on top, beating Arsenal 2-0, with Nico O'Reilly, the hero, scoring both the goals. Chris Scudder was watching.
No trophies for nearly 6 years. Arsenal were dreaming of 4 in the next 2 months. But City, serial League Cup winners, were confident.
Arsenal are a good team. They must probably going to win the league, but we need 2 cups, and today's the first one.
Hopefully we can see some trophy lift moment for City after the game.
Their confidence was further boosted by the sight of Arsenal's star man, Eberechi Eze, ruled out through injury. The first signs that it might just be City's day, with young goalkeeper James Trafford making a top-class triple save.
Trafford went down again and made a double block.
Arsenal's keeper Kepa, in contrast, was all over the place, almost caught out miles from his goal, in trouble with the referee, and then in even bigger trouble right in front of his goal. A terrible mistake from Arsenal's second-choice goalkeeper. City's Nico O'Reilly accepted the gift. Pep Guardiola was in raptures, and as Arsenal uncharacteristically slept defensively, O'Reilly helped himself to a Wembley double. Game over, and goodbye Arsenal's hopes of a clean sweep quadruple. For Pep Guardiola, a place in history, the first 5 times League Cup winner. The Premier League might be heading Arsenal's way, but this will feel very sweet for City. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
And it was a historic day for Great Britain at the World Athletics Indoor Championships as the team claimed 3 gold medals in just 28 minutes. Georgia Hunter-Bell kicked off the medal rush in Poland with victory in the 1500 metres. Pole vaulter Molly Caudry was next, holding off her rivals to win her second world title. And Keely Hodgkinson finished the night off in style, setting a new championship record time to claim gold in the 800 metres. The results bring GB's gold medal tally to 4 overall, making it their most successful World Indoor Championships ever. Now, just before we go, a chance to tell you about a groundbreaking documentary coming up next on ITV. In Our Blood, the Forever Chemicals scandal reveals how a small town in North Yorkshire is coming to terms with the discovery of high levels of forever chemicals in the blood of some of its residents, some of them toxic.
Oh, it's quite high then, isn't it? 11.736. And so that's increase at risk of kidney and testicular cancer. Well, I can count one out, but I've definitely got a tumour in my kidney.
And you can watch In Our Blood, the Forever Chemicals scandal, right after the news or catch up on ITVX. That is it for us for tonight. From all of the team here, thank you for watching. Good night.